with even high perspective of what's happening in South Korea. Now, viewers, it's time to also shift our focus to other developments which are happening in China. China is currently dealing with an outbreak of the human metapneumovirus 5 years after the COVID-19 pandemic rocked the world. Reports and social media posts have suggested that the virus is spreading very rapidly, with some claiming that the hospitals and crematories are now also being overwhelmed. There are even claims that China has declared a state of emergency, though this has not been confirmed as of now from the authorities there. HMPV is known to cause the flu-like symptoms and can also present the symptoms similar to that of COVID-19. Health officials have clarified and are also closely monitoring the situation as the virus continues to spread. In fact, now let's take a closer look at the global coverage of the HMPV virus that China faces, and it is now being projected as the COVID-like scare again. If we talk about the Hong Kong Free Press, in fact, this is one of the first news pieces that have come forward, putting the light on the respiratory virus cases of the HMPV, which remain low in Hong Kong. But the mainland China outbreak is the epicenter where these cases are now emerging rapidly. When we talk about the Guardian, in fact, this is yet another piece which has come forward, linking the similarities of the outbreak and the respiratory diseases to that of COVID-19, where it is now being viewed as a big potential threat. 5 years ago, the similar kind of scenes were witnessed coming from the mainland in China. If we just move ahead, in fact, the Fiji Times have just said that China faces new virus outbreak 5 years after the COVID crisis. 5 years is a time when the world was still taking the time to recover from the ramifications of the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is what in fact has come at this point of time. The HMPV and if they quote the reports and social media posts, that hospitals and crematories are overwhelmed, and China has also, as of now, what information we are gathering, quoting to these reports, possibly could have declared the state of emergency. In fact, if we go forward with this, the next that we have is the Phnom Post, which says that public health alert is issued. The outbreak in China is similar to flu and COVID-19 pandemic, with many, in fact, health officials and health-related people have said that the CDC also of the Ministry of Health in China has also said that the outbreak of HMPV in China is the virus that causes symptoms resembling that of the common cold, and COVID-19 has been seen a rise in the infection. So this definitely traces to the ramifications of what has happened in COVID, and this is why it is also being viewed very strategically of how this goes on further to transmit into the other nations in the world. Al Jazeera has come up with this piece where WHO has also been given a consideration, saying that China is pressed by WHO to share COVID origins data. While in fact the world was still reeling with the clarity on how the outbreak and transmission of COVID did in fact spread, now this new COVID-like scare has also started to in fact instill fear in the people around the globe. As in fact the WHO has given a statement that they continue to call on China to share the data and the access so that we can understand the origins of COVID-19. This is moral and scientific imperative. This is what the World Health Organization has said. While Reuters has said that China steps up monitoring of emerging respiratory diseases. This is of course in the follow of what the social media posts also in fact indicate, that the NDC and the Prevention Administration has established a procedure for the laboratories to confirm the reports of the flus and the diseases that are coming and being diagnosed at this point of time. Now, China Daily has also given this very important report saying that the peak season for respiratory illness continues. The peak season is what in China it is also being viewed. Remember viewers, this was also like 5 years back when there was little clarity, but it engulfed into one of the worst outbreaks and worst times when the world lost as many as half of the populations of some nations. ABS-CBN News covered this article from the DOH saying that the alleged international health concern is still unverified. Social media posts circulating have claimed that new epidemic was supposedly overwhelming hospitals in China. So this is why, in fact, it is very important. All the nations in the world are keeping a close eye on what's happening in China, while the Radio Taiwan International has also come up with this important news piece saying that China has been battling an outbreak of human metapneumovirus causing similar symptoms to that of COVID-19. And this is in fact the Taiwan Center for Disease Control, the CDC deputy director has said that it may affect Taiwan and they are closely monitoring the outbreak. This is only limited information that has been put in perspective for us to understand the developments that are coming, but it remains to be seen viewers how this potential outbreak continues to bring more trouble for the people in other nations and people also traveling to China and those who have already traveled and come back.